Good afternoon and welcome to the Council. I'm your host, Charlie Pacello, and boy, do we have a great show for you today. I'm so excited here to introduce my guest here in just a moment. She is one of the most powerhouse voices in coaching and personal development in the world. But before we get started with the show, I just want to thank KUHSdenver.com. That's KUHSdenver.com for being the platform for the council. We are broadcasting live here in Denver and all across the country and all across the world, bringing you the best shows, the best programs, and it's just you've got to tune into KUHS Denver because we've got the Love Doctor, we've got Sylvia, we've got so many other people on this station that are dedicated to bringing you the best programs and the best shows out there possible. So just want to thank KUHS for allowing the council to even exist. And I want to thank all of you as well for tuning in and trusting in me to bring you the best content out there to help you grow, to give you hope, to give you a sense that you can overcome the challenges in your life and become better people. We're living in a country, in a world that's going through some major challenges right now, some major crises. And one of the things that is important is to recognize that we have to be true to ourselves. We have to come back to what's in our hearts. We have to come back to that place within us that allows us to be the best version of ourselves. We are living in a country that is in a moral crisis, in a cultural crisis, where our souls are sick. And we constantly are being revisited by these things in a very profound and hurtful way. And I think it's calling us to reach for our higher selves, to reach for that point in, am I choosing the best in me or am I choosing the worst in me? And I think you see that in some of the shootings that we had recently, and I just want to bring that up momentarily. It's such a tragedy that we're seeing this over and over again in our country. And we've got to recognize that we're all kind of interconnected. We're all one. At the deepest level of our existence and the subatomic level, they can't differentiate where we begin and where something else begins. And we have to get back in touch with what really resonates in our hearts. And that's everybody wants to have kindness and compassion and love, and families wanting to be able to support and take care of their children and put a roof over their head and have a good job and being able to, their children to be safe when they go to schools. And that's what people want. And that's what they want all around the world. And we've got to start teaching our children to value life, and it's like we've lost that sense of what is really important to us, what we really value. And as long as we make someone an other, that they are something different than me, that leads to all kinds of evil. That leads to all kinds of pain. And it makes me better than you. And that's where we get into a lot of problems, is when I think I'm better than you. When I think that my way is the only way. That my good is the only one and true good. And it creates a lot of problems because we don't really know everything. We have to really humble ourselves and recognize that there are things out there in this world that we don't really know about. And we should have some humility and pause for just a moment and recognize that, I don't know everything, right? And I don't claim to know everything. And maybe somebody else has something to teach me. Maybe there are other ways of living that I don't know about. I just recently got back from Italy. I was out there for my brother's wedding. It was amazing. Really out in the middle of the south central Italy. It's between Naples and Rome. And it's in the mountain areas of Italy. And it's really where the real Italians live. And they maintain their traditions and their culture. And the wedding itself was reminiscent of something that I watched out of The Godfather. It was incredible, marching and walking through the town. And the old drums playing and the people gathering together to be with one another. And on my journey, one of the things that I went to was a festival, a wheat festival in Yeltsin. And these people have been doing a festival here for over 1,000 years. And they make after their first harvest, they build all these floats that are made of wheat and grain. And they parade it through the city, and everybody is around and celebrating life. And it originated from their deep faith. They were experiencing a drought, a significant drought. Nothing was growing, and so they prayed to Santa Ana. It's the feast of Santa Ana, who was the mother of Mother Mary. And after they prayed and prayed to her, it rained, and so the harvest came. And so as a consequence, they celebrate this feast and have been doing this for over 1,000 years. And it was just so rewarding to watch how other people live, to see their celebrations, to see their customs, to see how they, in the middle of the heat, and they would be on these floats dancing and drinking wine and celebrating life and teaching each other that we can't survive without having each other in each other's lives. And I think when we travel, you get to see how other people live. You get to see how what our way of life here in America, we are so blessed in so many ways, because we often take for granted the very blessings that we have. And if we're not teaching our children these things, if we're not giving them the value of life and to appreciate that all life is precious, that all life is sacred, we're in trouble. And, I think one of the things that we find in our culture is that we're no longer looking at the sacredness of life. That we have somehow, after the Cultural Revolution about 50 years ago, we've kind of thrown out the sacred. We've kind of thrown out the holy. And we don't recognize and see that everything has a purpose. Everything is alive. The very oxygen we breathe in was created by the trees around us. And our carbon dioxide feeds the trees. And we don't see this interconnectedness of life that keeps life in balance, that keeps life together. And if we're not teaching our children these things, if we're not teaching them how to respect and honor all life, we have some problems. And so we need to really reconnect to the soul, I think. I think our souls are sick. And that's why I wrote this book. It's called Meditations with Masters of the Axial Age. And it helps us to kind of get back to what's really important. These masters from a long time ago, like between 900 BCE and 200 BCE, they were trying to understand the deeper workings of the laws that are inside of us, that work in the soul, or why it is important to be truthful, or why it is important to be honest, on the importance of taking care of one another and treating another like yourself, which was a Confucian ideal, was to treat another the way you want to be treated. And to be able to take these truths, these mystical truths from all these different traditions, helps us to understand that there's something inside of us that we need to cultivate. Socrates believed that we needed to cultivate the soul, that it was the most important thing that we could do, aside from material gains, possession, your career, your family, that every individual was responsible for their own soul. And so we need to dig down deep and to answer those questions for ourselves and to teach our children what's really important and what's really valuable. I would encourage all of you who are listening and tuning into the show to purchase this book. You can get it on bookbaby.com at store.bookbaby.com. You can get it on Amazon as an ebook, Barnes & Noble, both in print and an ebook as well, and so many other different sites. It's really designed to help. I consider it a self-help book for the soul. So check it out, Meditations with Masters of the Axial Age. Now, I would like to introduce to you my very prestigious and venerable guest. She is a certified speaking professional. Less than 12% of the speakers in the world hold this prestigiously earned certification. Judy Moreo founded Turning Point International, a training and development company, and has served as CEO since 1992. Sharing her creative and innovative approach to business has taken her to 28 countries on 4 continents. She has been recognized by the Las Vegas Chamber of Commerce as Woman of Achievement Entrepreneur. Her business has received their Circle of Excellence Award. In 2003, Judy was named Nevada Business Person of the Year by the U.S. Business Advisory Council, and in 2010, she received the Diamond Star Visionary Award. And this year, she was inducted into the Business Hall of Fame. Judy is an accomplished author with 11 books to her credit, including Conquer the Brain Drain, 52 Creative Ways to Pump Up Productivity, Ignite the Spark, 52 Creative Ways to Pump Up Your Team, Delivering Exceptional Customer Service, and her best-selling, You Are More Than Enough, Every Woman's Guide to Purpose, Passion, and Power, and its companion, The Achievement Journal. She is also the developer of the Creative Day Camp for Executives, which has been presented in 400 cities throughout the United States. As publisher of the Life Choices book series and Choices online magazine, she has become a popular internet radio show host. Please help me welcome to our show today, Judy Morio.
Mario, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. And my goodness, it is such an honor and a privilege to have you today on the council. I can't thank you enough for taking you some time out of your day to be here with us and to share your wisdom with us on how that we are enough, just as we are, to this wider audience. So thank you.
It's amazing to me how many people don't think they are enough. I had a lady say to me the other night, well, what if I was somebody and nobody knew it? And I said, well, you are somebody, and the only person who has to know it is you.
It's true, we have a hard time. We seek validation from others outside of ourselves, I think, very often. And it's one of the hardest things is to feel that you're enough. I certainly have experienced that, Judy, in my life. I know that my sense of self-criticism has been a problem with me. And one of the subjects you talk about, we're talking about her book, You Are More Than Enough, Every Woman's Guide to Purpose, Passion, and Power. And one of the subjects you speak about in your book is self-criticism. Is self-criticism a common problem, Judy?
Yes, it is. It's amazing how many of us beat ourselves up. And this came from somewhere when we were children that we were told no, or we were told to do something differently, or boys were told to act like men, or girls were told to act like ladies. And so consequently, we are constantly watching ourselves, and it seems like no matter what we do, it's just not good enough. We feel like we could have been better, we should have been better, we would have been better if only I'd married someone different, if only I had different parents, if only I'd gone to a better school. And so, yes, we do that. And sometimes when we do something, we don't get the result we want, we beat ourselves up worse than we would ever talk to our worst enemy. We say horrible things to ourselves.
That is so true. I think you remind me of times that, because everybody has experiences failure, or you didn't achieve as high as you wanted to, or you had a setback. And I think some of the most deepest horrible things that I've ever spoken to anybody has been to myself. Has been the words that I've said, and I would never have spoken those words to anybody else.
No, there's no way you would do that.
So why is self-criticism so damaging, Judy?
Oh, well, we don't hear that many positives in a day. If you're in an average workplace, you're probably hearing 5 negatives every hour. You're not hearing a lot of positives. And if you think about that, 5, that's 40 a day, that's 200 a week, that's 800 a month, plus some of us live with some people that aren't very positive. So there's another 200. So let's say you're getting 1,000 negatives every month. You're just hearing those. The research tells us it takes 14 and 20 positive statements to overcome the effects of one negative statement.
14 to 20 positive statements?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so if we're getting 2,000 negatives a month, who's giving us the 14 to 20 positives for every one of those negatives? And most of it is coming from ourselves. We are talking negative. 70% of the negativity you and I hear comes out of our own mouths. And so we have to learn to compliment other people, to look for the good in things, to make sure that we don't talk negative, to make sure we don't say negative things, and worst of all, that we don't say negative things to ourselves. I very often say to an audience, what do you say when things don't go the way you thought they should? Ooh, you should hear some of the things they say. And I say, do you talk to yourself like that? Yes. I say, how do you feel about that? Well, not very good. Well, I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so. It's very damaging to our self-esteem. If we want to have high self-esteem, we have to talk positive to ourselves. Pretend that we're our best friend and say to us what we would say to our best friend.
I agree, and it's so hard. You think, because especially if you're in a service-oriented type profession, where you're constantly caring for the needs of others and looking out for them, and you're very empathic and you want to care, and you feel their suffering, you feel their pain, and suddenly you're taking it on for yourself, and you're not taking care of yourself in that way, and all of a sudden now you're self-harming. I mean, it's like self-harming. It's almost self-abuse in that way. At least that's what I find. Self-criticism can become self-abuse.
It definitely can. It really can. And, it's hard to get over that. I have girlfriends that are my age that, their parents were very criticizing of them when they were teenagers. And, they're grown women like me. They're older people. And they're still beating themselves up. They still hear that parent voice in their head when they do something that they don't think it came out just like they wanted. And I said, well, if you don't get the result you want, why don't you just do something different until you do get the result you want? Why do you start talking nasty to yourself? That doesn't make sense. But we do. But we do.
We sure do. Oh my gosh, we sure do. I am guilty of that many, many times, especially if it's something that I had put my heart and soul into. That I thought, my goodness, this is going to be my thing that I get to contribute to the world, and all of a sudden, it doesn't quite work out that way, and then I blame myself for it. I criticize myself, and I can be my own worst enemy.
And lots of times it's not your fault. The circumstances that happen, the economy, something happens in someone else's life, and yet for some reason we take on the responsibility of it. We're just like, oh, I'm responsible for the whole world. I guess I'll beat myself up. And we can't be.
Yes.
When I was a senior in high school, the captain of the football team, well, I was a junior, he was a senior, and the captain of the football team took me to the homecoming game, and then he was taking me to the homecoming dance. Well, it was because his dad made him do it, because his dad and my dad were good friends. And so about halfway through the game, this other fellow came over and he said, Judy, I'm supposed to take you over to the game for Richard. And I said, oh, okay. So we were driving over there, and he said, Richard, it was going to take me to the dance. And he said, Richard's not coming. He asked me to take you off his hands. In fact, he gave me $10 to take you off my hand. Yeah, that's what he said. And I was destroyed, I was destroyed that somebody paid somebody else $10 to take me off their hands for the evening.
Oh, my God.
So, I had to really fight to get my self-esteem back after that. So when we had our 20-year high school reunion, they were both there. And I got two $20 bills out of my pocket, and I went over and gave one to each of them. And I said, here, I just want to buy back my self-esteem. You guys beat me up for a lot of years. They didn't even remember what they did, But I carried it around in my head for all those years.
Oh, yeah. No, and Judy, I've had, from high school myself, I remember there was a girl that I had dated or wanted to date. And I asked her to the prom, and I was all excited. And then I'm walking down the halls, and I end up seeing her kissing her ex-boyfriend, and that just devastated me. And it was like a knife to my heart, and my self-esteem was ruined, and and we carry those wounds with us. We carry that criticism that I'm not good enough, not smart enough, not beautiful enough, not handsome enough, not intelligent, whatever it may be. You add, whatever enough you're not. And that kind of pain, that kind of criticism can be devastating when we're adults.
It certainly can. And it can affect the career we go into, the kind of work we do, the relationships that we have with other people, both at work and at home. It can affect everything if we let it. And we have to stay forward focused. I've made up my mind that, we set goals. We say, that's where I'm going. and I'm headed that way, and I'm staying. When I was like 16 years old, my dad sat me down one day and he said, "What do you want your tombstone to say?" And I thought, "Oh God, he's going to kill me. I don't know what I did, but evidently he's had it with me. If he wants to know what my tombstone's going to say." And he said, "No, no, no, honey." He said, "What I want you to do is decide what your tomb's going to say, because that's going to be your North Star. You're going to live your life so that you're remembered the way you want to be remembered." And he said, "If you know how you want to be remembered and people ask you to do something that's not in keeping with where you're going, it'll be easy for you to say no, because you have that North Star guiding you." And so that afternoon, when I was 16 years old, he made me write out what I wanted my tombstone to say. And I want you to know, I have lived my life to that, because he made me write it down. Because he said, "You don't want your tombstone to say you had the best hairdo in the world, do you?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, then why do you throw hairbrushes and have fits and stuff?" And I was like, "Oh, cause. So he said, "You'll sit here with me till you figure out what you're going to say." And we wrote down that day, "I want to live my life in such a way that my life lives positively after me."
Wow, that's amazing.
And so since that time, it's given me that North Star. Yeah. I write books about positive mental attitude. I speak about positive mental attitude. I teach people how to set goals. I help people find their potential. I help people develop their potential and to become the best they can be. And you know what? If I do that, it makes me the best I can be.
It is. When you're empowering others, sometimes people feel that, if I empower somebody else, that that's somehow going to take away from my own power, that they're going to somehow get better or whatever. And it's really not. When you're empowering others, nobody can take your power away from you. Nobody can take that. No. If you don't have your own power, nobody has it. And I think that sometimes we confuse that sense like, well, this person is going to get ahead of me. No, everybody's on their own journey in life. Then you've got to be able to respect where you are on your journey. It's about empowering yourself and learning how to do that. Judy,
yes.
Is self-criticism ever appropriate?
Yes, it is. It's I wouldn't call it self-criticism as much as self-evaluation. Sometimes we should look at what we've done and evaluate, could I have done it better? Did I do it to the best of my ability? Did it affect everybody in a positive way? Been negative and I didn't realize it? It could be. I just choose not to call it criticism. I don't like the word criticism. These people that come up to you and they go, "Would you like a little constructive criticism?" No, I wouldn't. Thank you. Take it somewhere else. Criticism is not constructive. I'm sorry. Criticism is nasty. If you want to offer me an idea of how I can be even better, yeah, I'll take it. But don't give me some criticism, for goodness sake.
I love that what you said just there. That constructive criticism is not constructive. It's still criticism.
It is. And it's because somebody's looking for something you did wrong, so they can tell you, "Oh, here's a little constructive." They're not hoping to be constructive. They're just wanting you to know, "Oh, you screwed up." So I just always say, "Thank you. I'll take that into consideration."
Wow, that's such a brilliant way to handle that.
Yeah, just thank you. I'll take that into consideration, and then just go right on, because I don't really care what they say or what they think. At this point in my life, I've decided I'm living my life to the best that I possibly can, and if I could do any better, I would. And so for somebody to come along and say, "Well, here's what you did wrong," buzz off. I'm sorry.
Oh, Judy, I think that's fantastic. Yes, buzz off. And there's been times where I have experienced other people criticizing me for not doing enough, or not having accomplished this, or not having lived up to my potential. That you should be doing it this way, or you should do it that way. And boy, oh boy, it can be really, really difficult to be able to find that inner fortitude to be able to withstand that and say, "You know what, buzz off. I'm on my path, and I will find my way." And I just got to trust in myself enough to get through it. But when we're constantly being bombarded with criticisms from others, it can be almost paralyzing for us to move forward in life, can it not?
It can. It really, really can. And that's why I just say, thank you. I'll take that into consideration. And then I'll look at it and say, is there any merit here? Is there something I should do differently? You know, one person tells us there's something wrong with us, we can pretty well write that off. But if 10 people tell you the same thing is wrong with you, then you might want to take a look at it and say, maybe I'm not affecting the world as positively as I would like to. Mm. So it's just a matter. And also, who is it that's telling you that? You know, sometimes people are criticizing us and they haven't done anything with their lives. So what are they doing telling us what we're doing or what we're not doing?
That's very well said, Judy. In You Are More Than Enough, you speak to people who might suffer from feelings of inferiority. I certainly have felt that. In many ways, looking at comparing myself to other people, seeing how far ahead they are and where I want to be, and I'm not doing that, and so it must be something inferior in me that I just haven't been able to actualize yet. And that has been very difficult for me in my life to overcome some of those feelings of inferiority. Where do you believe these feelings come from?
Well, I call it the comparison game, and I don't believe any of us should play it. We get involved in, like you said, comparing ourselves to other people. And, you know, other people didn't start where we started. You started at a different spot than they started. And you have different elements affecting your life than other people have. And so, unfortunately, when we were children, it's very possible that, you know, I come from a large family, and not just my immediate brothers and sisters, but cousins and aunts and uncles, and, you know, very, very large family. And my grandmother would compare me with my cousins. You know, you're not as smart as Bobby, you're not as cute as Bobby, you're not as pretty as Jeanette, you can't dance like Susie, whatever. And she would point that out to me all the time. I didn't realize she was also doing that to them, you know, because, you know, we're only hearing what they say to us. And so I grew up thinking, well, you know, my four sisters, they were all beautiful, and for me, I was just an ugly little duckling that somebody paid $10 to get rid of. And I just felt inferior to them. I always felt like, oh, they were so gorgeous and I wasn't. Well, I better be smart. So I'd study so I could be smart. And I remember my mother saying, well, honey, you don't have to be beautiful like your sisters. You just have to have beautiful moments. Well, who wants to have beautiful moments, right. You know? You want to be beautiful all the time. You want to have beautiful moments. That's where inferiority comes from. You know, people say these things. They have no idea how it hurts us. They have no idea. They have no idea that we internalize this.
Where do you think that comes from? Is it? I don't think it's like they're intentionally trying to hurt you. Is it coming from a place of love when they're saying these things, or is it their own inferiority, or is it their own unacknowledged, maybe something inside of them that they didn't live up to? So that it's a way of projecting some of their own.
It could be. It could be all of those things. It could be that they love us and they want to protect us. And so I remember one time I was with my dad somewhere. It's like, oh, everybody's looking at yours. And my dad said, honey, nobody's looking at you. You know, 99% of the time people are thinking about themselves. They're not thinking about you at all. You just happen to be in front of them and their eyes are going that direction. And that kind of set me back a little bit. You know, they're not thinking about me. What? And so I had to deal with that. But then there are parents who have their own insecurities. Their parents didn't know how to raise them to have high self-esteem. And so sometimes they've been verbally beat up. And sometimes they've been physically beat up. I can't tell you how many people I realized after I was grown, how many people had been abused mentally and physically by their immediate families. I was in shock. I would go to these 3 and 4 day self-awareness courses, and they would have a time when you could talk to your parents and, you know, have them sit in an imaginary chair and talk to your parents. And these people would scream at their parents and hit on them with pillows and all kinds of, and I was like, whoa, what is this about? And it was because they had been really abused. And you know, if you've been abused all your life, it's real hard for you to turn around and be real positive.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not. It's not easy. And if somebody all your life has said to you, you're not so smart, you're not so good looking, you're not so intelligent, you know, you need to back off. Don't be such a show off. You know, sit down and behave yourself. Well, my goodness, how are you ever going to overcome that?
Yeah.
You have to really work hard at overcoming that. And so many people don't know. I had a lady the other day, 38 years old, in one of my programs. She had never heard of goal setting before. She said she had never heard, 38 years old. I was like, I've known about goals since I was 5, you know, but she didn't. And so she was so excited when I told her how to set goals and how to change her life with it. She was just like, wow, this is wonderful. And then she called me a week later and said, oh, I've made some decisions. And, you know, if you know where you're going, or if you've got an idea where you're headed, it's a lot easier to make decisions.
Oh,
it's a lot easier.
It's a lot easier if you have an idea where you're going. But if you don't know where, if you don't have the confidence and the self-esteem, and you're talking about self-esteem here, where you're able to esteem yourself and be able to trust in your own decisions and the consequences of those decisions as well, and being able to say, you know, this is the direction I'm going, this is who I want to be, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do everything I can to become the best version of that person that I want to become. And then you have other people that are dismissing it or devaluing it or degrading it in some way, or you know, your dreams aren't that important, you'll never make it, or being an artist or a writer, you can't make a living at it. I mean, those things can really affect our self-esteem if we're not strong enough on the inside to be able to, you know, withstand that. I mean, I think the antidote to being a victim is self-esteem. But how do we get it? How do we get that self-esteem?
Exactly. And that's why we have to learn to talk positive to ourselves. We need to say affirmations to ourselves. I have the people in my audience do affirmations. I tell them, here's your homework. You never again in your life will attach a negative words to the words I am. So I have them say, I'm powerful, I'm effective, I'm good at what I do, people like me, I like people, I'm smart, I'm intelligent, I look good, I smell good, yay me. You know, we have to talk positive to ourselves. And I get up and do that every single morning. And the people in my audience say, you do it every morning? And I say, yeah, I'm coming in here to talk to you. I've got to be in a good mood, you know. Well, doesn't your family think you're a little crazy? Well, yeah, they all think I'm a total nut, but you know what? I don't care, because this keeps me positive. You've got to do your affirmations daily, every day, and affirm and write it down, write it on cards and put it everywhere that you can see it. I have one on the visor in my car. I have one on the refrigerator door. I have one in my wallet next to my money, so that I can look at that card and read it and say, oh, and every way and every day I'm getting better and better, you know. So you've got to, because every day you're either getting better or you're getting worse. You're not staying the same.
That's right.
And so what can you do to help you better? You read positive books, you listen to positive tapes, you do affirmations, you surround yourself with positive people, you make sure that the people you meet are pleasant, and you quit saying negative stuff. You just stop it. Yeah. People say, well, how do you stop it? Well, you just stop it. I said to my sister one day, hey, how come you just keep running your mouth like that? And she said, I don't know. I can't get control over my mouth. I said, well, who has control over your mouth? You know, we have control over our own mouth. Shut up saying something negative. Just close it. And I have my students in class, they wear a rubber band on their wrist, and if they say something negative about themselves, they have to pop the rubber band where it hurts their arms. So it says, stop, that's hurting me. Right. And then they'll quit eventually in that negative stuff. It's horrible.
Well, it is, and we're so conditioned towards the negative anyway. We are, you know, I certainly know that in my life experience, you're conditioned to look for what's wrong. You're conditioned to look for what's bad. You're conditioned to being all this idea that I've got to be perfect in everything that I do. And we're going to get into that here in just a second. But if you're not able to get to a point where you can say, you know what, I am who I am, like me or not, and I'm going to be who I am, like me or not, and you can either be part of my future or you can be part of my past. But it's getting to that place of saying, you know, it doesn't matter whether you like me or not, I'm going to be me. And
exactly.
That's got to be the most empowering thing you can do. And when you can get into that place, that's where real self-esteem, in my opinion, originates.
Yes, I really think so. My mother gave me a little poem when I was a teenager, and it said, "I'm happy being me." And it was no matter how. Oh, I just can't remember it right off the top of my head. But basically, it was a little poem that said, "I've got to be me, and I'm happy being me, and no matter what else happens, I'm going to be happy being me." And I kept that on my desk. I mean, she gave it to me when I was really young, and I kept that on my desk for like 30 years. It's amazing.
And to have those things, like you're saying, in front of you all the time is so important because it's a constant reminder. It's a constant way of reprogramming your subconscious mind to affirm yourself and your value. Now, Judy, can you use your imagination to change how you feel about yourself? And if so, how will that help you make the positive changes in your life?
Oh, most definitely you can use your imagination. Do you remember when you were a child, did you ever pretend to be a pirate or a cowboy or
Indiana Jones. For me, it was Indiana Jones. I thought I was going to be Indiana Jones. I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark. I wanted to be Harrison Ford, and I wanted to go on all these adventures and find the Ark of the Covenant and all that stuff. So that's what I wanted to be.
Yeah. So you used your imagination for all that. You saw yourself in those situations. And, we can still do that. But the problem is we've been beat down so much that we don't use our imaginations that much anymore. We don't think creatively. We don't laugh as much as we did when we were children. We don't come up with new ideas as much as we did. And so, consequently, we're not using our imagination. I have this one guy that used to work in my office, and he used to come in my office every day and kind of jump in the door and like, ta-da! He would come up with some ridiculous idea, and we'd all go, "Oh yeah, there's Michael with his idea again. Idea of the day." And one day he came in and said, "Idea of the day," and he had this little funny plastic stick with a hook on the end. And we said, "Okay, Michael, what is that?" He says, "It's for little kids to use to turn on and off light switches." And we went, right. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? He sold that sucker to somebody, the idea, and they made thousands of those plastic things. And he started getting royalty checks like crazy.
Wow.
Then one day he came in and he said, "Video postcards." And we all went, "Oh, right, video postcards." Well, then next thing we knew, there were video postcards in all the gift shops on the Las Vegas Strip. And I mean, he was always doing that, but every day he had an idea. It was idea of the day. And some of them were real profitable. Some of them were really dumb. But you know what he would do? He'd come in my office and he'd go, "I've just been to the treasure box." And it was his post office box. But he said, "The money just flows in there. I just go there and pick up money. It's just wonderful." And it was all about this idea of the day thing. So I started doing it. I started saying, "I have to have an idea of the day." Because, how can we be more creative? Think about it. Because if you have a problem, you need to solve your problem. You want to come up with 4 or 5 different creative ways to solve a problem. But most of us, if we find one way, we stop right there. We go, "Okay, we'll stop here." But if you can find 4 or 5, there may be a right answer that's better than the other right answer.
Well, that makes sense, yeah. And what I end up finding is that, people will get kind of caught up in that, that one way that you were just talking about. And a lot of times that one way is something that was inherited. That's the way how we do it. This is how, this is how you get out of debt. You got to do this, this, and this, and that. Or, you know what, if you have this idea and it doesn't work, well, then you're just going to have to go back to what was done before. Rather than what you're talking about is, I've got, let's find 5 ideas and try that. And maybe one of these ideas can be even better than the original idea. So I think the imagination is so important.
One of my girlfriends graduated from college, and she still had $50,000 in college debt that she was going to have to pay off. And she said, "Now, what could I do to make a lot of money real fast that's legal?"
Yeah.
And so she said these brainstorming activities, and then she said, "Okay," and she got herself on 3 games, $60,000, and she paid off her debt.
Wow.
She just went to college. She had an education. She thought, "Why not? I'll just go see if I can answer some questions."
Right. That's great.
Yeah. But, most of us wouldn't think of that. No. Most of us wouldn't say, "Oh, I think I'll go get myself on a game show and try to make some money."
Well, what ends up happening too is, I think, is we because it's archetypal. We're going to experience failure in life. We're going to experience situations where we put our effort into something and it doesn't work out the way we wanted it to. And then we get caught up in, well, it could have worked out this way. It should have worked out this way. Why didn't it work out this way? And we can get caught up in those cycles of thinking. And that can be, and I know this is me, where I can be like mulling over that for months, wondering why things didn't work out the way they did. Going into this woulda, coulda, shoulda thinking. What are the dangers, Judy, of the shoulda and if only thinking?
Well, it's because when we're doing that, we're basically living in the past. We're looking back and we're saying, "Oh, I made a mistake." But everybody makes mistakes. Everybody does something that doesn't work out at some point or another. I had a girl tell me one time, she went on a interview for a television show host job, and she said, "This is the first thing in my life that I've ever gone after that I didn't get." And I said, "Aren't you lucky?" And she's like, "What?" I said, "Now you know how it feels not to get something." And she was like, "No, I think this is disgusting. I always get what I want." No, but we don't always get what we want. And so you can't go back and say, well, if I'd have worn a different dress, if I'd have done my hair different, if I had not been nervous, if I had well, that isn't what happened. What happened was what happened. And you got to say, okay, that happened and move on. Mm-hmm. I screwed up my own life really bad. I had won a modeling competition when I was young, and I got sent to New York City to enter the United States modeling competitions, the big Model of the Year competition. And I didn't take my passport with me because I didn't figure I'd win. It was if you won, you got to go to Paris the next day and then compete in an international competition. And so I didn't take my passport. I had no idea I would win. And I got to New York and I did all the competitions, and then they announced my name, which I was in shock, and I won. And then when I went up to get the trophy, I said, "I can't go to Paris. I don't have my passport." And they said, "Okay." And they sent the first runner up to Paris and sent me home.
Wow.
Wow. Oh, because I didn't expect to win. It doesn't matter if you expect to or not. Take the passport along just in case. Say yes just in case. And if I had not opened my big mouth, if I'd have just said, "Oh, thank you," and then walked off the stage, then I could have called home and said to somebody, "Can you put my passport on the next airplane?" But I didn't think. I just blurted out, "Okay, go on my passport." So, we all do these things. And I can look back and say, yeah, if only I'd taken my out, if only I'd been smart enough to keep my mouth shut, if only. But guess what? I learned lessons from that. Big lessons. And so the next time somebody came along and said, "Do you want to go speak in South Africa?" And I'd never done that, I went, "Yes." They said, "Do you have a passport?" I'm like, "Yes." "Is it up to date?" "Yes." You can always say no later, but I just say yes.
Right.
Because I made a fool of myself. I ruined my chance at doing something really big, at representing the United States. The girl that went up to me, she won the internet.
Wow. Well, it's
just look you see.
Well, and it's so important to say yes to the things that come into our life, and rather than saying no all the time and being imprisoned by our own what if thinking or should have thinking, by being able to say yes to the things that are actually happening and the opportunities that are available to us. And Judy, we're having a little technical difficulty right now, but I think your voice is still there. And in your book, You're More Than Enough, you talk about how fear holds us back. Why does the fear of failure inhibit getting what we want?
Well, if we are afraid of failure, very often we won't take the chance. We won't step out of our comfort zone because we're going to fail. But the fear of failure is really the fear of if I fail. It's a lot bigger issue than just the.
We're having a little technical difficulty, folks. Apologize for that. It is one of those things when you have remotes and you're bringing in people from other parts of the country. You're dealing with weather and technology and other things that are happening around that we can't control. But it is, the fear of failure is dealing about rejection. We're dealing about our fear of not being able to be good enough and not allowing ourselves to be vulnerable in those ways. So, we got you back on.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's great to have you back. So, anyway, if you could continue with your.
Yeah, I wanted to say, sometimes when we are afraid to take a risk, when we're afraid to make a decision, and we'll go to somebody else and we'll ask their advice and they'll tell us something and then we'll do what they tell us, even though in our gut it says, no, don't do that. We go ahead and do what they told us rather than trusting ourselves. And what happens then is we have to live with the consequences, whether we did it or whether they did it. Mm-hmm. Whether the decision or we made the decision, they don't have to live with the consequences.
That's true.
We have to live the consequences. So I'd rather live with the consequences of my own decision based on my own research, my own knowledge, my own experience. And then if it's me that screwed up. And I can't blame Susie or Jane or Bill or whomever for making that decision for me because, we ruin friendships that way. We ruin families that way because we ask for other people's advice and we really don't want or need it. And so we should just, if we ask for their advice and they tell us, take it into consideration, think about it. How does that feel with you? Does it feel right? If it doesn't feel right, see, I think we're so much more than we know. You were talking about souls earlier, and I've really gotten into this recently. I have a new book that's going to come out in the fall and much about that. Where is your soul? If your brain's in your head, where's your soul? Mm-hmm. But I have a lot of questions about that. But here's the thing, we are so much more than we know. We have a greater ability to tap into universal knowledge than we even know. We can use our imaginations. We can reach out and make things happen. We can invent things. We can solve problems. I mean, we have so much ability. You just get quiet, sit down, meditate, ask.
There we are. We're tapped into. We're having a little technical difficulties. We do want to tap into that universal consciousness. We can see and imagine new things if we want to. It's about believing and recognizing that that every choice leads to an act of creation. And that's a big idea. It's like every choice I make has some effect in the reality that I live. And these are understandings that we're just starting to really become aware about. And like you're talking about, Judy, we have you back on now. You're having that sense of where the brain and the soul is. And our fears can be very deeply embedded into that chest area, that sense of where the self-esteem resides. And Judy, do you think it's a common problem that people fear what other people think? And why do they do this?
Oh, yes, I believe we do. Now, I know that when I grew up, we lived right next door to the Baptist church. And my mother said, every Saturday, you have to go out there and clean up that yard, and you have to make sure the flowers are all blooming and the flower bed, the weeds are all pulled up, because those people are coming to church, and they're all going to see our yard. And we don't want them to think, that we've got to make sure. So we learned that early on, to worry about what other people thought. And then you go to school and you see certain people and you think, oh, there's those popular kids. I want them to like me. I'd like to be like them. And if we don't fit in, we get feelings of inferiority. And then we grow up and we go to work, and then it's the same thing. And then we meet somebody and we think, oh, I want to marry her. That's the woman I want. And they won't have anything to do with us. And it's just, they're trying to be more beautiful.
Yeah, it is trying to be more beautiful. Being beautiful people is about being able to confront your fears and overcome them, and not letting what other people think to control who you are and what you want to be and who you want to become. And we have a lot of fear of failure and those fears that what other people think. I've had people like a lot of my decisions were concerned about what other people would think, and being afraid to be able to make those choices because I didn't want to hurt their feelings, or I didn't want to, put them feeling like I'm, running away from them or going away from them. But at the same time, I have to live with the consequences of those fears, and then I miss out on some of the great things because of those fears, and then you end up taking it out on the people that you love. What advice would you give to people who let fear hold them back, Judy?
Feel the fear and do it anyway. It's a book that's out there in the marketplace. But yeah, you got to feel the fear. But courage is moving through the fear. Courage isn't just going out and fighting a bear or something. Courage is about whatever it is you fear, just doing it anyway. If you fear networking events, go there. Keep going back until it's comfortable for you. Because every time you step outside your comfort, that's your comfort zone a bit. And, when you step out of your comfort zone, you're actually stepping to a panic zone in a lot of cases. But when you go through the panic zone and then you jump back into your comfort zone, you're going through the growth zone both ways. So when you step out of that comfort zone, you're going to grow a bit. So you just have to keep doing it and keep doing it until you get good at it. I'm a very shy person. I didn't grow up being an outgoing personality that could go around talking about anything and everything to everybody. It's something I learned. I was afraid of networking groups. I was afraid of public speaking. I was scared to go up on the stage. And so I had to learn to do it. My dad said, if you wanted money, you have to do what other people are not willing to do. And I found out most people are afraid of public speaking. So I said, I'm going to go for that.
Well, it is. Public speaking is one of the very challenging things for people to be able to do, is to be able to get up in front of a group of people and be open and be vulnerable and being able to speak whatever is going on and having your message, having a clear message and believing that that message that you have is of value to the people that you're speaking to. That you can sit in front of a camera and hopefully reaching out to people and being able to share that message in a positive way, in an uplifting way, in an enriching way. But boy, oh boy, once you get to that place, it's amazing, Judy. They're all pumped up, and then as soon as they're on that stage, and I've had that stage fright too, because before I went into acting training, it was paralyzing. And so getting over that fear is so liberating once you're able to do it. And you only do it by practice, by repetition, by repetition, by repetition.
Exactly. Stepping out of that comfort zone and making yourself do it, that's so important.
And I love how you say that that's that growth place. I think that's absolutely great. Judy, in You Are More Than Enough, you say stop demanding perfection from yourself. I think this is so huge. You say stop demanding perfection from yourself. So many of us are wanting, even whether we're conscious of it or not, we are trying to be perfectionists. What is the downside of being a perfectionist? And why do people become perfectionists?
Well, you're going to never be perfect. Or actually, you should face the fact that you probably already are perfect, because God made you, and that saying goes that God didn't make junk. And so you're perfect just the way you are. But you don't have to try to be perfect to someone else's standard. Excellence is good enough. Very good is good enough. Good is good enough. So why have to be perfect? I know people who have to have perfect husband, perfect children, perfect clothes, perfect car, perfect house, perfect, and they're miserable because nothing is ever going to be perfect. And so let people be who they are. Let's let things be who they are. Let's love who they are just the way they are. And quit being so hard. That's just not enough.
Do you think, Judy, and I think what you're saying right there is so important. Let people be who they are. Don't try to change them. Don't try to modify their behavior in order to make you feel more comfortable, or have you believe what I believe, because what I believe is better than what you believe. And if you don't believe what I believe, then there's something wrong with you. Wait a second. There's 7 billion people on the planet. Everybody may have a different idea of what is good and true in their life. And it's about us being able to accept unconditionally everybody around us and say, wow, what an amazing human being that person is. And seeing the good in them and the light in them rather than trying to perfect them in our idea of what we think perfection is.
Yes.
Judy, is perfectionism a control issue? And why do you think that?
Yes. Yes, perfectionism is a control issue. We're trying to control our environment or our child or our husband, trying to make them perfect. And it is a control issue. And we feel like if we can't make them perfect, that our life is out of control. And it's not out of control. It's just that we need to learn to accept a lot of things the way they are. I look at what's going on right now in America with this political thing, and I don't really want to just accept that the fact that it's so negative and nasty.
It is.
So negative and nasty. And it's the worst I've ever seen it prior to him becoming president. He had just gotten out of prison. I was working for newspapers over there, and I had the opportunity. He was just trying to bring peace to a nation and bring peace and freedom to all people. And I asked him, I said,
who is this, Judy?
How can you... Nelson Mandela. I asked him.
Oh, Nelson Mandela. Okay, wow. You met Nelson Mandela? Wow.
Yeah.
We're just having a little technical. As soon as we
How
get
can you come out of prison at 27? Okay. Are you ready for me to talk?
Just about. As soon as we get this. Yeah, this is a great. I really want you to share this story. Hold on, just as soon as we get this video connection back. Wow, you met Nelson Mandela. Oh, come on. Folks, this is a great story. We got to get this story. Hold on just a second. There you are, Judy. There you go. Okay, go ahead.
Nope.
There you are.
Maybe another time.
No, there you are, Judy.
Am I here?
Yep. Go ahead and share the story with me.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yes.
Well, I had the opportunity to ask kind and forgiving of other people. And
Well, let me try something different here. Let me see what I'll do. Hopefully we'll get a better connection. Judy, I'm so sorry about this. I don't know.
It's not your fault.
There you are. There you are. Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes. Wonderful. Yes.
It's not your fault. I mean, the weather here is unbelievably bad. I'm sorry that we're going through this.
No worries. Please share the story with Nelson Mandela. I had no idea. Wow.
Okay. So I asked, after spending 27 years in prison, how can you come out and be so kind? How can you come out and be so forgiving? And he said he always knew he would walk free. He visualized it every day. He said in his mind he knew it was going to happen and that he could bring peace to that nation. And a man would have never been able to do what he did. He brought freedom to that nation. And I got to be there on the day that they voted and elected him president. And it was amazing to see the hundreds and hundreds of people turn out to vote when it was their first time to ever vote in their whole lives. And they didn't have the negativity and the nastiness that we have going on here. And it just tells me, that we can have a more positive environment if we would all make a bit of effort. And like he said, visualize peace, visualize getting out of prison, visualize making it happen instead of being so hateful and visualizing stirring up all the trouble.
Oh my gosh. I think we need more people, more leaders to step up like that. And Nelson Mandela is certainly one of my heroes, and to know that you actually met him and shared that and was being able to experience a powerful, loving, peaceful man who could have chosen a different path. He could have chosen a different path.
I wrote a little bit about it in my book. Mm-hmm. There's in my You're More Than Enough book. I did tell. Right.
Well, one more question, and then I know you have something that you want to announce to everybody, and it's this idea of perfectionism. Does giving up perfectionism mean you're giving up your pursuit of excellence?
No. You're just saying I don't have to have it be perfect, but excellence is, we can pursue excellence. We want to be the best that we can be, but it's just not plausible to think that you're going to be perfect, because it's just not going to work. Life is not that way. And so quit trying. I know too many people who are trying so hard to be perfect, and then if they can't have it perfect, then they don't want to have it at all. No, guess what? You may not have it at all. You may just do without. Yeah.
Well,
sorry.
Judy, this has been I can't believe we're towards the end of the interview. This time always flies by so fast. Your book, You Are More Than Enough, Every Woman's Guide to Purpose, Passion, and Power, sounds absolutely amazing. I think it sounds like men can read it as well. I mean, it sounds fabulous.
Oh, yeah, they definitely can. They definitely can.
Please share, I think you have some events coming up in a couple months, and where people can purchase your book at.
Well, they can purchase my book on Amazon.com. They can purchase it on JudyMario.com. They can purchase it in bookstores everywhere. I have an event coming up November 16th and 17th. It's a 2-day and intensive event. I'm only taking 12 people, and we're going to look at and figure out what they want to do and make them a plan for their lives so that they can go forward and accomplish what they want to accomplish. Go to JudyMario.com and register.
So go to JudyMario.com. That's www.JudyMoreo.com. Again, that's JudyMoreo.com. If you're interested in the event on November 16th and 17th, it sounds extraordinary. You are working with one of the best in the world.
They want the magazine.
What's that, Judy?
Want the magazine, just go there and sign up.
And there's a magazine as well. If you want the magazine, sign up. Is it Choices Magazine?
Yes.
Choices Magazine, sign up.
Yes, it is.
It's and how long have you been doing Choices Magazine, Judy?
5 years. 5 years.
That's incredible. I love the title of it, Choices. I love the title. I'm sorry I'm having these technical issues. So please go to JudyMoreo.com. Moreo.com. That's JudyMoreo.com. And Judy, we've got you back right now. I want to try to catch you before we close the show. I always ask my guests before we end, if you could give one bit of advice, one bit of wisdom from your life experience, what would it be?
That one bit of wisdom from my life experience would be to always believe in yourself, because you really are more than enough.
I love it. I love it, Judy. Thank you so much, Judy. It has been an honor to have you on the show today, to be here with us, to share your amazing stories and humor and wisdom. It has been an honor and a privilege to have you. Thank you so much for joining me today, Judy. And folks, I'm sorry about the technical difficulties that we had. I hope you were able to enjoy the show. Thank you, KUHSdenver.com, for being the host of The Council. Couldn't do it without you, Henry, and everybody here at KUHS. Tune in to KUHS for the best programs, best radio show, programs, music, everything. You got to tune in to KUHS Denver. broadcasting live here in Denver, all across the nation and all across the world. The council is being listened to by over 40 different countries, and our numbers continue to grow. Thank you for tuning in and trusting me to bring you the best that I can bring out to you. So, folks, thank you for tuning in. We are done today. We will be back next week with another great show. May you all be well. May you all be free of pain and suffering. May you all be whole. The council is adjourned. God bless. Thank you, folks, for tuning in onto the international camera. We will be back in 1 week here for another great show with the council. Thank you for tuning in. God bless. Have a wonderful weekend.